Hey folks, this is Abel James, and thanks so much for joining us on another episode of the Fat Burning Man Show, where we talk about real food and real results. Over the past few weeks and months, a lot of you have gotten in touch and asked, why did Abel disappear from the internet unexpectedly a few months ago? And is he ever coming back? And wait a second, why is his hair so impossibly long right now? Well, if you're a subscriber on the newsletter, then you probably already heard a little bit about our crazy near-death experience this summer. But the truth is that Alyson and I spent the past 4 months and change recovering our health and focusing on finding a new place to live. And it's a long, sticky, and scary story. I'll be getting into it in a coming episode that's yet to be recorded. But the good news, the takeaway here, is that we're still quite alive. We found a place to live, at least for now, and we can finally get back to work. And there's a lot to do, folks. So after all, I have a brand new book and audiobook that's ready for you. In fact, it's right behind me right now. Designer Babies Still Get Scabies, as well as more than 20 unreleased episodes that are brand new of this show and more to come. So I'll give you more details about how we almost died and what we all learned from the experience in, hopefully next week if I can get around to recording it. I think I can, but right now we're also switching all of our workflows from Macs to PCs because all those MacBooks died. I'm sure a lot of you, especially in the creative fields, are experiencing stuff like that right now. It's pretty crazy. So there are a lot of things happening at the same time, but the good news is that we're finally coming back on the grid. We have our health back, thankfully, and there's a lot of work to do, and I can't wait to get back in touch with all of you folks. So all of you who sent notes and have been in touch and offered your support over the past few months, it saved our lives. And I just want to say, you know who you are. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so before we get to the show, here's a review that recently came in. If you're looking for self-enrichment, then Abel is your guy. I've been listening to Abel and all the awesome guests for about a year now. I've lost weight and gained strength by taking in some of the advice from this podcast. I'm super grateful for humans like Abel James sharing such wealth of information. Thank you. I'm grateful for humans like you. All of you who write in and say things like this. I try to keep it together, when I'm doing the podcast and doing this show and doing the intros and stuff like that. But truth be told, it makes me tear up a lot of the time. There are so many stories that just blow my mind, and I want to collectively say that anyone who has experienced a lot of these results, like losing over 100 pounds or completely getting off your meds, reversing a serious illness, personally and in our families, we've all experienced a lot of these things, and it's nothing small. So I just want to say kudos to you, because it's all about putting in the work. And what we do on this show is try to spread truth, especially truths that aren't widely known, that aren't really out there, or that are covered up by misinformation and marketing from the traditional mainstream. But I just want to say that it's all on you folks. And a lot of you have put in the work. So congratulations on that. And there's a lot more fun to come as well. So if you'd like to get in touch, the best way to do it is to write me an email at abel@fatburningman.com. But even easier, go to fatburningman.com. You can get an archive of hundreds of free episodes of this show going back, almost a decade now. But anyway, sign up for the email newsletter list. There's a lot of cool stuff coming up. Giveaways, new books, new audiobooks, a lot of freebies. So put in your email address into the little newsletter sign up. Make sure you're on the list, because there's a lot of cool stuff to come. So another fun surprise that's coming out soon. We're doing a mega giveaway, and I won't even mention the prizes right now because I don't want this to go on too long. But if you buy the book, Designer Babies Still Get Scabies, then you can get the audiobook for free from our website. I'll tell you exactly how you can do that in upcoming episodes, but suffice it to say, to claim your free audiobook and ebook when the time is right, and it's ready now, as long as we're time traveling into the future and this all works out, just head on over to designerbabiesbook.com to get all the details and join in the fun. Designerbabiesbook.com. fatburningman.com. But also remember, if you're signed up for the newsletter at fatburningman.com, you can also stay up to date that way. Here are a couple of reviews that already came in for Designer Babies. This one is from a past guest of the Fat Burning Man show, Jennifer Easerlow. You may remember her, holistic health coach, alchemist, and author. Worked with the Seinfelds as a cook for a while. Really cool story. Anyway, she says, smart, hip, and charming, you'll love Abel's take on coping with the hype and nonsense of modern day living. Each poem takes you on a mini journey to lift the veil, first revealing the truth of what's really going on, and then helping you appreciate the beauty and good things in your life. Another one from a past guest of the show, Stephanie Ruper is now a doctor. So Dr. Stephanie Ruper, definitely a smarty pants. She's a philosopher, author, and scholar. Make sure to check out her past episodes on this show as well. She says, don't let the cute art and talk of silliness fool you. As much as there are ample portions of goofy delight in these lovely poems, this book is actually a trenchant critique of the brokenness of the modern world. It will make you laugh, and it will make you think, and it will make you feel deep, heart-wrenching things. And this was all, I suspect, rather James's intent, to produce a literary masterpiece that hooks you with its charm and keeps you with its ageless and arresting wisdom. Even my mom, also a past guest of this episode, and she'll be on again soon. A lot of you ask for her. She's, of course, a holistic nurse practitioner and musician. She sent a review of Designer Babies to share with you. She says, I loved your poetry book. I read the whole thing. It was so good and so funny and sad. It's a great book, and I think everybody should read it. So just quickly, and of course, yes, we're going to the Ask Me Anything live stream show right after this, but just quickly about the new book. Well, it's a subversive, hypnotic little book that confronts dark questions, conspiracy theories, magic, and history's mysteries with dazzling flurries of irresistible rhymes and ridiculous rants. You'll meet indestructible robots, world-conquering pumpkins, $300 million fighter jets, dog-eating dinosaurs, judgmental Sasquatch, and for the first time ever, the dastardly Zuckerburglar. Speeding through true stories of eels on cocaine, you'll ultimately discover why designer babies and brain implants won't save us as we tumble toward the singularity. But I need your help, folks. We're doing this book all by ourselves, independently published and all that, because probably every publisher would want to censor this one right away. And apologies in advance if I kick the hornet's nest a little bit. I don't really pull punches on this one, but it is quite silly most of the time. If you're interested and you want to get the audiobook for free, go to designerbabiesbook.com, and I really hope you like it. That's all one word, designerbabiesbook.com. And also hang around till the end of this episode for a special little surprise. I'll even share a few poems from this brand new book with you. On to this show. In this Ask Me Anything from before this whole 4-month ago debacle, we'll cover, once again with the time travel, it'll look like I got a haircut. We'll cover my take on extended fasts that last 3 to 5 days, which types of seafood you should avoid, how to kickstart fat burning again after losing 170 pounds, tips on getting quality sleep, why jumping rope isn't just for little girls, and tons more. I hope you enjoy this one. Okay, let's start with a question from Frank. Hi, Abel. I love your podcast, Fat Burning Man. I listen all the time. I even enjoy listening to the same ones multiple times. I've heard that a few times from you guys. That's cool. Since I started the Wild Diet on December 13th of 2018, I've lost 60 pounds and I've been in a wheelchair, unable to do much exercise. I feel great and get a lot of compliments. The question I have now, though, is I've recently embarked on a 3-day fast, and it's the first time that I've ever fasted. I'm just drinking water and black coffee. I'm approaching the 3 days, and I feel great. I'm considering extending it to 5 days. Abel, can you give me your opinion on fasting for 3 or 5 days? How do you feel about that? I'd love to hear what you have to say. I'm also going to leave you an excellent review on iTunes. Frank, thank you so much for the support. Congratulations on already shedding 60 pounds. That's amazing since December. Some people struggle to lose 5 or 10 pounds in a year and a half year, and you've already made such incredible progress. So kudos to you. That takes a lot of personal responsibility, diligence, discipline, and all sorts of things you understand, especially if you're unable to do much exercise, which was definitely the case as well with Kurt Morgan back on that TV show when you guys saw me coach him. And that's, it just goes to show that while exercise is definitely an important thing for lifestyle factors, when you're talking about getting your body shape, your metabolism, and your health in order, it's really about your nutrition. It's about your lifestyle, certainly, but especially when you're trying to change the shape and the size of your body, you cannot overemphasize the importance of eating a solid diet or nutrition plan. Okay, so let's get to some of your questions specifically about fastings. And I love that fasting because, I was just doing an interview with Dr. Anthony Balducci, really smart dude. And we were literally just talking about 3 to 5 to 7 day fasts. And as you longtime listeners and viewers know, I've been a big fan of fasting, and I've done it myself pretty much every day for the past 8+ years. And for probably 7 of those, it's been like 1 to 1.5 meals a day, just dinner usually, 1 meal a day. And so it's kind of like a 20 to 4 fast if you're talking about hours. So I started off with a 16-8. But anyway, those are kind of short-term daily fasts. And that can be great for managing your macronutrients, for simplifying your life because you're reducing the amount of meals that you're eating. It's easier as well to avoid overeating when you're kind of scheduling your days this way, because you just don't eat for half of the day or more. That makes it a lot easier for me. I find when I start eating, that's when I become hungry. And so I put on muscle relatively easily, but I also put on fat very easily. And so depending on where you're at, you need to adjust the strategies to your goals, to your body type, and all of that. But anyway, that's all short-term fasting, and that's kind of a different beast, a different animal from the 3+ day fasts. Now, historically speaking, and certainly when you look to the animal kingdom, fasting is something that we're all well adapted to do. And if you think about it as something that balances your body, I think that's the right way to go. And certainly, just long story short, before I get too carried away, I'm definitely a fan of strategic and well-used fasts that are extended if you do them the right way. And there's definitely a right way to do them, and there are wrong ways to do them. But the idea is, you think about the yin and yang, or yin and yang, and on one side, you kind of have the active male principle going forward all the time, and then you have the more balanced and receptive female side. Now, if you think about the body, if you're eating all the time, you're kind of in an anabolic state. You're putting on mass, you're putting on muscle or fat. Your body has to work hard to digest all of this stuff and turn it into your body. So, or excrete it in the case of waste. So when you look on the other side of that, the more receptive side, the meditation for your esophagus, there's the fasting, the meditation for your stomach. It's giving everything a break. And certainly in the animal world, as I said, this is something that happens all the time. If a dog gets sick, which happens to our dog sometimes because she eats everything and it's, disgusting. She's right here, by the way, and Alyson's right here. Thank you for your help, Alyson. One of the first things that animals do when they get sick is stop eating, and that's kind of how you know that they're sick a lot of the time. That'll happen with humans as well, and one of the reasons for that is because the body can spend more of its energy healing when it's not always digesting biscuits and cookies and barbecue and McDonald's meals and chips and all this other stuff. That actually takes a lot of work for your bodies to turn Twinkies into fingernails. So when you're looking at fasting for 3 or more days, you say you're doing it here with water. You definitely want to make sure that you're hydrating plenty. And then black coffee, which is a good way to do it because you're avoiding calories. And to do a proper
fast, where you're really resting your whole metabolic and digestive system, you want to be avoiding pretty much all calories as you're doing, avoiding supplements as well for the most part, with the exception perhaps of minerals, especially if you're sweating a lot or you're in a hot environment. It's important to make sure that you have your electrolytes. So that doesn't really count as calories or food, but make sure that you're getting enough of that. Black coffee, probably not that big of a deal. Although there are benefits to going without caffeine, so maybe you try that for a little bit to kind of push you through the fast. I know, personally, black coffee can help me feel like if I want something or I feel a little low on energy and I'm doing some sort of fast. Sometimes black coffee can help, but there's also a great benefit to giving your liver and body a break from the caffeine and the other constituent parts of coffee as well. So try kicking that out. Maybe if you do the first 3 days with the coffee, you can try doing the 4th or 5th day without. But also keep in mind, you don't want to be pushing it too far. If your life is falling apart, maybe you should start eating again, but ease into it and go slowly when you do, because if you eat barbecue or McDonald's straight up, you're going to have a really hard time. But for me personally, since I've been doing the pretty much 1 meal a day, sometimes I'll go for a 5 or 6 mile run, or I'll do my strength workout pretty much all the time fasted, although I will have some coffee or tea and maybe some fat in there as well. I haven't done as many of the extended fasts. I think this year I've done one over 24, but not quite 48 fast. And I'll do that every once in a while. But as time goes on, I see more and more benefit to doing these extended fasts, both physically and spiritually. And a lot of people who I really respect and admire, including many who have been on the podcast, like Dr. Perlmutter, the past couple of times he's come on the show, he's talked about extended fasting and how he likes to do that. And so it can be a really valuable thing to work into your habits. And so I appreciate these questions. I want to make sure I don't harp on it too much. But anyway, yeah, fasting, Frank, try that 3-day, 5-day fast. See if you can turn down the black coffee to give your body a break from caffeine as well. And then remember, every time that you're coming back in and starting to eat again, you want to make sure that you're avoiding heavy foods that are tough on your digestive system. Make sure you're hydrating and remember those electrolytes. And also, especially for women, fasting can be a little bit different. You need to make sure that your hormones are cooperating, or you're cooperating with your hormones. So if you feel like you're crashing, fasting can certainly be abused. Make sure that you're not doing it too much. Make sure that you're not sacrificing your health. This is all, or should be done with the goal of improving your health, not sacrificing it and powering through. It's not about that. So keep that in mind as well. So I'll get to those Facebook questions in just a bit, but let's keep going with Jason here. Greetings, Abel. I'm down on the Alabama Gulf Coast where seafood is abundant. What are your thoughts? I like how that's one word. What are your thoughts on seafood? Anything you think we should steer clear of? Oh man. I love good seafood. We've lived pretty much landlocked, Alyson and myself, for many years though, in Texas, where we met, and then now in Colorado. So I think if you can't get fresh seafood, it's a whole different ballgame. You can though. But living on the Gulf Coast, you know about the tar balls. I remember one of the first times I went camping with Alyson and my wife. You could smell them. The Gulf Coast is kind of the ocean, but it's not pristine, if you know what I'm getting at. So the idea is with seafood and with any meat, anything you're going to eat for that matter, you want it to be clean. So there's a lot of seafood. What you want to watch out for in particular is heavy metals. So tuna, swordfish, larger fish can bioaccumulate a whole lot of heavy metals that you don't want in your system. In fact, if you know of Tony Robbins, he's been considered a god by a lot of people for very many years, and was pescatarian for I'm not sure how many years, but then had serious problems that he had to work through due to that heavy metal toxicity, which is a big issue, once it kind of builds up in your system and your bones and all of that. And detoxing from heavy metals is something that we've done before at actually Dr. Alan Christensen's clinic. And Alyson and I were both very high in lead. We had a couple of other issues, but you want to watch out for mercury in seafood. If the seafood isn't fresh, I don't think it's really worth it. If you have like a fatty fish that's buttery and very much high in omegas, I'm a big fan of that. Talking about salmon, trout. I like sardines a lot. But so those are kind of the go-tos. The fattier fish, as long as it's clean, really good. We also like, Vital Choice Seafoods. We get relatively inexpensive caviar from them, from wild-caught salmon, and it's just wonderful. It tastes really great. I'm not, like the Casino Royale James Bond eating caviar type normally, but this is, a food that is extremely valuable, and I think it's really important to get diversity into your nutrition strategy, and eating a whole bunch of different kinds of fish is a great way to do that. So look out for environmental issues, pollution, heavy metal toxicity. One thing that's helped us avoid sushi, aside from the MSG that's usually put in the rice and other stuff like that, and just kind of the low quality fish in general, is I read this article probably, if you're eating right now, I very much apologize, but it was probably a year, maybe a year and a half ago now, just read this article about this dude who was addicted to salmon sushi, which normally that would be a good thing, except the dude got worms in his system from eating all that raw fish. And, if you've ever cleaned, I used to love fishing growing up, did it all the time when I was a little kid, and did it with my dad and my friends. But fish get worms, and if you eat raw fish, you can get worms too. So watch out for worms. But in general, the go-to, pieces of advice for seafood: make sure that it's as fresh as you can get it, wild caught. Being in the Gulf Coast, I believe there's quite a bit of and I could be wrong about that, but kind of like industrial fish farms as well, where they feed the fish anything from like soy protein isolate to poultry meal or / poultry feces as a food source, where they're living in their own feces in these tanks. Really, really disgusting stuff if you look into it. So know what you're eating, know the quality of it. The stuff that I like to prioritize from a health point of view when you're looking at seafood is, first of all, when in Rome, I'm originally from New Hampshire, New England, where if you could afford it, or when it was cheap anyway, you could get some really wonderful lobster. So I love lobster and scallops if I can get them fresh. We just had some scallops last night. Wonderful. The sea scallops, not the bay scallops. Although skate is also delicious if you can get that fresh. We had some of that in New York City. So when I go to like Boston, New York City, the Northeast, I load up on seafood. I went on tour a few times down on the Gulf Coast. I'm not as familiar with which fish you want to aim for in particular there, but be careful with the swordfish, the tuna, the heavy metals and stuff like that. And then as far as, don't forget about like convenience fish foods. Don't open them on a plane or whatever. Sardines are a little gnarly, but they're really good for you. I have them, smoked oysters or sardines out of the can. I'll have almost every day of the week. And one of the reasons for that is because we are landlocked, so we don't often get fresh seafood. But keep in mind, even if you are, like those scallops that we had were frozen. We've had lobster tails here. We've had, giant oysters that were also, I believe, from Vital Choice that we cooked up and sauteed in some butter and garlic. So have fun with your seafood. Just make sure that it's as clean as anything else that you're aiming for here. All right, we've got some great questions coming in. This one's from Joe. I'm 290 pounds and 6'3", and I was 460 pounds, down to 290 and can't seem to lose any more. I only drink water and green tea, but I can't seem to lose any more weight. Anything would help. Joe says, Well, Joe says to Joe, try fasted cardio. Okay, so 6'3", 290, down from 460, you should be feeling a lot different now, right? 290 is still, like probably heavier than you want to be, but being 6'3", it seems like there would be quite a bit for you to do on the physical side to build some muscle and start changing your body composition. And fasted cardio is one of those things that's it's almost as intense as it gets, especially when you first try it. But just to kind of use the opposite end of the spectrum as an example, you may remember my friend Chaz, who I had on my show, probably a couple of years ago now, maybe even longer than that, where we talked about getting him down to, I helped coach him down to 3% body fat, I think 3.5% body fat. And just to put it into perspective, Chaz is a little bit like Thor. He's kind of got that body type, the long blonde hair. But one of the things that he did pretty much all the time that would help him speed up his progress. And keep in mind, young buck in his prime, in his 20s, fasted cardio, But if you're already having issues, like you say, you're down, Joe, to 290, and you can't seem to lose anymore. So now it's time to take a little bit of a look at what you're doing with your daily practices, and also put a spotlight on your sleep in particular. Because if you're not getting 7-8+ hours a night of solid quality sleep, then your testosterone will be suffering. You're going to have a lot of stress hormones kind of just moving throughout your body all the time that are going to be interfering with the more catabolic side, which is going to allow you to lean down. So I would recommend take a look at your stress. There's always the mindfulness. It doesn't have to be hippy dippy. It can literally just be checking in with yourself every few hours and taking a few deep breaths. In fact, I could use one right now. Everyone, let's just do it. Isn't that just one? I probably did half of one. But at any given time, especially before you go to sleep, just let's do it one more time. One of the things that you can do is make the exhale longer than the inhale. Play around with the holds, how long you hold it. We're up here at elevation, 8,000 feet with a lot less oxygen, so it can be interesting. It's given me a lot more respect for breath work and how to oxygenate the system. So let's look at some of those lifestyle factors. Yeah, okay, so Joe, you say you're 60 years old and it seems harder at your age. Absolutely, after age 30 or so, testosterone starts to drop, which is already low, especially in the Western world. It starts to drop at like 1% every year. And your hormonal state, I'm 34, is going to be completely different pretty much every decade. So you want to adjust your strategy. Okay, can't sleep, waking up every 1 to 2 hours a night. There it is. That could definitely be it. So instead of really cranking it on hard, punishing workouts, it seems like you might benefit, in fact, from something that's quite the opposite of that, where you actually need a little bit more rest. Actually, why don't I just talk about sleeping for a moment here, because it is so important, and it doesn't have to be boring. Yeah, stress is a part of your life, LOL, part of everyone's life. So it's just a matter of managing it, really. But let's talk about sleep for a second. So a few things that you can do that really help. If you live in a place where you can get sun in the morning, try to go out and get some sun as soon as you can. Let it hit your eyes, let it hit your skin. And this is going to help program your circadian rhythm to be like, oh, I'm awake now. This is daytime. And living in this artificial world of artificial light and enclosed spaces, your body doesn't get the cues that it needs to know this is morning, this is night, because when it gets those cues, it starts adjusting cortisol, starts adjusting your stress hormones. And so if those are kicking in right as you're trying to go to sleep, or if you're waking up in the middle of the night with your heart racing, which is, trust me, happened to me, especially in the past, many times I was a terrible sleeper. The things that allowed me to transfer into a much better sleeper, I did a recent podcast with James Swanwick on sleep. If you're interested in that, please go to fatburningman.com or wherever you are and check out that one. We talk about sleep. So blue blockers, let's see if I have any close by. No, I don't think I do right here, right now. I don't usually have them on because it can be distracting, mostly to you guys if I have them on, I think, during a live stream or when I'm recording. But when we're working on screens, especially at night, getting the orange colored blue blocking glasses, putting them on as soon as the sun sets can really help. It sounds kind of wacky and arbitrary, but that can really help. Also built into modern day Mac, and I think Androids, and in pretty much any device, you can find some sort of option. They all call it different things, but an option for cutting out the blue light from your devices after sundown. So I've used for years an app that's free called Flux on my devices that does just that. And I would highly recommend it. And then, there's some funky biohacking type stuff too. And doing what I do, we get sent a whole lot of different things to try. And one thing that we tried in Austin when it was kind of like a hot sleeping situation, sleeping in a loft, in a penthouse at the time, it would get sticky up there. But we had something called a chili pad or an Uller, where it's like this temperature control water cooler mattress topper that goes underneath your sheets that allows you to control the heat or the cool of your sleeping situation. So for me, I tend to get really just like temperamental from a heat perspective. I'll be sweating and if I'm sweating, then I can't sleep and I'm waking up, then it's hard to fall back asleep because I'm too hot. But I don't think it was, so we tried the earlier version. It was like the beta version of the chili pad back in Austin. And that worked great in that sleeping situation. And now we live up in the mountains. It's much drier. It just snowed a little bit last night. We're almost in June. So it's a different sleeping situation, but we've got two sides of it. Alyson keeps hers set at like 88 degrees or 90 or something like that, which would drive me crazy, would drive me nuts, but she loves it. And then I keep mine at, I think, like 67. And so with the sheets over us, we keep the windows open. We don't have air conditioning here. And so when you have your temperature taken care of, when you have the amount of light in the room as well taken care of, so you want light. It's funny, the sun just came out. You want light in the morning. You do not want any light of any kind falling on your skin, on your eyes, or anywhere else at night. So if there's no way that you can get a dark room to sleep in, and ours isn't perfectly dark, to be honest, here where we are, and we're just renting this place, because it's got one of those high ceilings and it's got this big window up top. And so I put my head fortress on. I put my sleep mask over the eyeballs so that light doesn't get in. I cover up almost all my body with the sheets and the blanket so that the light doesn't fall on my skin, and earplugs if you need them too. So trying stuff like that, a little bit of breathing, the valerian tea or the sleepy time tea, the blue blocking glasses, all these things are here and there, a few bucks, from a few bucks to like less than $100 or whatever. And, with the amount of sleep medication that's prescribed, and it's been prescribed to me in the past to help me sleep. I've tried it. It's something you can get hooked on. Thankfully, I didn't personally, but Kurt, back in that TV show, although we did lose, he lost 87 pounds in I think 4.5 months or so. He was addicted to, couldn't get off one of those sleep medications. So be careful with that stuff. There are a whole lot of different, just more kind of natural, holistic things to try to help your body sleep instead of forcing your body to sleep, if that makes sense. Magnesium at night can really help. Also, I like working out kind of like either earlier in the day or in the afternoon, and then in the evening is when I fill up on food, and after that I get kind of sleepy, because it's like a food coma. That's when I eat my one meal. That seems to work as well. So you can kind of move that stuff around. Okay, so Catherine, this is a great recommendation too, Joe, Says, Joe, have you considered functional medicine? I'm 58. It's about everything Abel is telling you, mindfulness, stress, etc. Yes, find a great functional doctor if you can. Obviously, easier said than done. But yeah, let's see. Alyson, what am I forgetting from a sleep perspective? There are so many different things that you can try. But I think if you stick to the more natural side of things and you stay away from the prescription drugs. Yeah, that's another one. So I mentioned like kind of when I exercise, but if I'm on the strength days when I really push myself, exercise wise, I get sleepy. I mean, at 8:30 sometimes, 8 o'clock, I'm just really tired because the sun has gone down. And it totally depends actually on the time of year. Now we've been going to bed a lot later because the sun is, we're almost at the solstice again here. So that changes my sleeping schedule, and keep that in mind for yourself as well. Avoiding alcohol, big one. I've done that with Alyson since last October, I want to say, and that really helps sleep. It really does. And if you guys have thought about buying chili pads or blue blocking glasses, the chili pads are getting up there price-wise compared to the blue blocking glasses and stuff. But just try one at a time. See if any of that helps, because trust me, I used to be one of the worst sleepers ever. And I never really prided myself, honestly, on being a poor sleeper or getting away with less sleep, because I couldn't honestly get away with it. I would get sick all the time. I'd put on weight. I just felt terrible. It was really tough. But you can go from a terrible sleeper to a decent sleeper. I wouldn't call myself a great sleeper now, but I'm a decent sleeper. And that just makes such a massive difference. So that's a great point. If you're kind of like plateauing, or you're not, you were getting incredible results for a while and then all of a sudden that stopped, take a look at your lifestyle, take a look at your stress, take a look at your sleep and see what you can do there. And maybe it's time for some of that more yin instead of the yang, right? Oops, as I punched the microphone. Maybe it's time for a little more self-care, for a little bit more mindfulness, deep breathing, doing the thing that relaxes you, that is also healthful. Being healthy for a lifetime is always going to be more about balance than it is about forcing yourself to do anything. So keep on trying. You got this. Joe asks, have you tried the carnivore diet or zero carbs? I've covered that in a couple of past live streams and I've ranted about it, but I'll say this kind of relates back to the extended fast. For me, if I'm only eating one meal a day, I'm avoiding carbs for like 20 hours every day. So that's not a carnivore diet. That's more of like a autophagy diet, I guess. That's just, or fat burning man if you want to go there. But carnivore, it's not about eating the meat. The healthful parts anyway aren't about eating the meat. It's more about what you're not eating. So eating zero carbs for 3 days, 5 days, 7 days can be a great thing for your body, giving it a break from sugar and carbs in general. Despite what most people think, you don't actually need carbs to survive, but I will say that I cycle them in and out, mostly out, but we do eat sweet potatoes and whole food carbs and occasionally some sweeteners too, and we're looking to indulge. So you don't have to be you don't have to be 20 net grams of carbs per day or less in order to be healthy. You don't need to adhere to any strict plan about carbs. It's more just 50 to 100 net or not net. I don't count. It doesn't matter. Once you get the hang of it, you know what a carb is, you know what's sweet, you know what's processed and what'll get your blood sugar really high and then crashing again. So try to learn that for yourself, because it's different for everyone's body. And that can really help. All right. Man, we've got a lot of questions here. Thanks, Sam, Brenda, Jamie, Back Porch Paleo, Steven, Doug. Really appreciate you guys being here with me. What do you think of jump roping? And how much time do you think is good to spend daily if you're new to it? Jump roping, I write in my book, is not just for little girls. And if you think it is, it's time to rewatch Rocky. anything that gets your heart pumping and you sweating is going to be good. So, personally speaking, jump roping has been something that I did in like gym class in elementary school, and being Fat Burning Man, I've gotten a few jump ropes, some of them weighted and some of them otherwise, and I tried them, but I don't know. I don't think I've quite built the skill for it to catch on for me. And I like running. I like doing. I love mountain biking. Been doing that for a long time. So I really kind of have my cardio. And then for warming up, I'll do like jumping jacks or light jogging, something like that. But all this is not to say that jump roping is bad or not cool at all, because jump roping is great. It's awesome training. It's really good for kind of getting all your limbs to work together and getting the timing down. Jumping in general, really good. Rebounding machines or trampolines or whatever. All this stuff is excellent for you. So how much time do you spend daily if you're new at it? Go for as long as it's fun, really. But don't feel like you need to, don't go until, it's like, if you start playing piano when you're a little kid and you take piano lessons or whatever, and then it makes you hate piano and you never play again, don't do that with jumping rope, I guess is a quick way of saying that. Like, go while it's fun, make sure you get a sweat going, and then don't feel any obligation to really do it more than that. Honestly, once you get that physiological response where your body has an elevated heart rate, when you're sweating, your lymphatic system is kind of draining and blood's moving throughout your body and all this great stuff. Once you're there, you can keep doing the cardio if you want, but it's not going to burn much more fat. You're not, the point of working out is not to burn off calories. It's to really nourish your whole physiology, your whole system. And so that's the goal there. Steven says, you look amazing, man. You're getting younger. Thank you. Hopefully our advice is working on ourselves too. Doug says, peace out, folks. Keep up the good fight, sir. Your integrity is priceless. Got to run. Doug, thank you so much, and glad that you made it. Lorraine Nichols says, hey, what is your take on organic medicinal mushrooms? Reishi, cordyceps, lion's mane. Awesome. In fact, in my coffee right here, Alyson was kind enough to make us a pot right here. I think there were 10 different kinds of mushrooms, including each one of those that you just said there. So, mushrooms, especially in the West, are a very underappreciated part of a solid nutrition plan. It's a wonderful way to get adaptogens in, diversity in your diet, phytonutrients, all sorts of cool stuff. There's a lot of research being done now about mushrooms, and there are so many different kinds and so many different benefits that I am just a total amateur here, but I assure you I'll have plenty of true experts about mushrooms on my show and podcast in the future. But let's see, there are a couple that you can actually go back to and just look up right now and listen to. One is with Taro of Four Sigmatic. You can look up that. Just go to fatburningman.com. Taro, Four Sigmatic, and the podcast with him will come right up. We talk about mushrooms a lot in that one. And then there's another one too, where I get into mushrooms specifically, and then a few where I talk about them, just like how my parents got into foraging for mushrooms in the backwoods of New Hampshire, where we grew up for a few years. They were really into it, and so we got to go out with them and find some chaga on the birch trees, a whole bunch of chaga. And lion's mane is incredible, and Dad was great at preparing it. It usually just means frying it up in butter or olive oil or some other delicious oil. And if you can get any of these mushrooms fresh or out in kind of your area with a true mushroom expert, do it. Like, go out in the woods, have them show you around. Be really careful and don't do it yourself, because they're obviously poisonous and toxic mushrooms that you want to avoid. But yeah, get into mushrooms. They're a wonderful thing to put into teas, coffees, to just take straight up as a supplement, and to get into your culinary habits as well. Mushrooms are awesome, and definitely used so much in other parts of the world. They're literally like a course in a lot of the places that we have visited. So make sure that you get them in there too. Nuri asks, is the wild diet same as Banting? Yeah, yes and no, not really. Banting has been around, for anyone who isn't familiar with it, is really cool. It's been around for like 100 years now. Almost 100 years, yeah. And so people have understood this low carb, low sugar way of eating for over a century. And, you know, if you look back, I remember seeing something from like 1911, I believe it was, looking at the dietary recommendations for diabetics back then. And it's basically Banting, a ketogenic style diet, depending on how you use words, Atkins, low carb, carnivore, all these things are kind of, what they have in common is the avoidance of sugar and processed carbs for the most part. So in a sense, if I think the wild diet is mostly about what you're not eating, it's dietary self-defense, right? It's not about this outrageous diet plan that's going to get you all these results because it's magnificent and the magic bullet and this. No, it's not like that at all. It's, here are the fundamentals that we understand about our physiology, about the way that we move, we exercise, and our lifestyle, and all this stuff that's worked with hundreds or thousands of people that, you know, we can all agree on is a good way to go if you want to lose fat or boost your health or, you know, achieve almost any result. At this point, I've done over 300 shows with experts in all sorts of different domains, and there are so many different results that you can get. It's not about what you call it as much as what you're actually doing with your life. So the wild diet is not really meant to be a diet as much as a philosophy where you're eating as nature intended. And I don't want to make it more complicated than that, really, because if you can apply that lens to most of the stuff that you're eating, then you're going to be winning anyway. It doesn't matter what you call it. And if you put yourself into that, and I've talked about this before, if you put yourself into the camp of I'm a vegan or I do Banting or, you know, I do the wild diet or I'm a carnivore, then it's really problematic in the long term because you don't want to be following dogma. You want to be building the skills that it takes to navigate a crazy, unpredictable world and maintain your health in the process. So, yeah, try not to get caught up in the words and pay more attention to the principles that work and also the principles that work in these dietary practices that may at first seem totally different from each other. Because I've been vegan, I've tried Banting, I've tried, you know, cyclic ketogenic diets, everything in between. It doesn't matter what you call these things. It matters what you do, and it matters how honest you are with yourself in terms of meeting your own health goals. So you got this. Try to build your own internal compass, and you'll do just fine. All right, from Joe, what's your take on cold showers and saunas? I'm going to take some water first. I'll just do a quick one here because we have so many more questions. This is awesome. Cold showers. I grew up, as I said, in New Hampshire, and in the winter, mom and dad would sometimes, to save money, keep it at like 57 degrees. And so getting ready for school, and, you know, it'd be negative 20 sometimes outside, and with a wind chill, negative 38. And, oh man, I just got so much of that when I was a kid that I didn't get into it now, the cold shower thing. Although I've done polar bear plunges for fun, you know, up in Canada, I've done that, and then when I was in college and some other stuff like that. So anyway, I think it's good for the body. Oh, well, okay, maybe that's not totally the full story here. So I kind of avoid cold showers. I like them hot. I like going in the shower, making it not too long. I don't want to waste too much water. So I make it short and hot, and just like kind of get in, get out, usually. Now on the sauna side of things, sweating is a wonderful thing for the body for so many different reasons, and we don't have to go down rabbit holes and explain scientifically or through chemical processes why that's important. It's obvious. Like anytime you're sweating and you've just exerted yourself, you're probably feeling better. Now, if you're sweating all the time just as a matter of living in Texas, maybe that's not so cool. And it's one of the reasons that we live in Colorado now. But like saunas used strategically to help you sweat, to help you detoxify and what have you, can be really great. Infrared saunas are a big craze right now. And if you guys are familiar with Juve, the light therapy and red light therapy, near infrared, all of that, I'm having one of the folks from Juve on actually right after I record this to talk about light therapy and all of that. So I won't be live streaming that, but stay tuned to fatburningman.com and I'll be releasing that one soon. Alyson and I, since we, the folks at Juve were kind enough to send us a really big unit to try, and I'd never really tried light therapy like this before, and I'm a big fan. It's probably one of the reasons that you guys say that I'm looking younger, in addition to the bone broth and the vegetables and all the other stuff that we do, the fasting, what have you. I really do think that some of this more modern technology can really help us if we use it strategically in the right way and not for evil like the Zuckerbergler does. So as long as you're paying attention to like what's important in your habits, you're trying different things, you can find these really wacky things that do in fact work. Like I still wear those Vibram 5-finger barefoot shoes when I go out for runs. Some of these things that other people have dismissed as fads long ago still work really well, like PEMF. Boom. I'm working electromagnetism on myself right now so I don't collapse from doing live streams and podcasts all day. We've got some aromatherapy over here. Got some nice mental focusing blend, which is lemon oil, peppermint oil, wintergreen oil, basil oil, rosemary, and grapefruit. So, I mean, look at how much fun you guys can have with all this. The red light stuff, I mean, I'm not saying that all this stuff works. I'm more saying, hey, isn't this fun to play with? Isn't this different from the story that we're given from the traditional Western medicine system that told me 10 years ago that I'd be kind of fat and sluggish for the rest of my life and this is just my genetics? No, it's way better than that. It's more fun. There are a lot of little hobbies to get into, and it's not all about being a Luddite and going out into the woods and foraging for wild stuff. It doesn't have to be like that. It's more, like I said, it's about a compass. Let's use some common sense. Taking pharmaceuticals is like taking napalm a lot of the time. It's not as targeted as it says it is, and a lot of times there's collateral damage. And so if you can avoid going in that direction or the surgical direction, and trust me, I've taken a lot of unnecessary pharmaceuticals, I've taken a lot of unnecessary surgical procedures as well, and in hindsight especially, you can see what serves you and what doesn't. And when you go the pharmaceutical and surgical route, a lot of times it's kind of permanent, or it's putting a band-aid on a serious problem. It's not getting to the root. And that's really what it's all about. Joe says, do thinner people have lower body temperature? I cycle with someone with 3 to 4 layers, and I'm cycling with 1. Yeah, that's one of the things that happens when you lose weight as well, is you lose your blanket. It's a layer of fat. When you look especially at sea animals, you can see that they have an enormous amount of blubber to help protect them from the cold. And essentially on a human, it's performing the same function coming from a colder place. Maybe that was the reason that I was carrying a little bit of extra weight for a while in some ways, because it can be uncomfortable to be cold. But that makes me think, one thing that I didn't mention about the cold shower thing is when I go out for a run or when I do Qigong outside or when I do other exercises, a lot of times, and this is not for vanity reasons, it's only the squirrels that see me, but I will just be wearing pants or just be wearing shorts. I'm not wearing a shirt, even if it's 30 degrees or if it's 50 degrees. When the sun's out in this climate, It feels great to have the sun on your skin, even if it is really cold. And once you get those goosebumps, a lot of times, so my Qigong kind of Tai Chi yoga exercises or whatever, I'll do for about 10 minutes. And at the beginning, I'm cold, but by the end of it, I'm kind of warmed up. And even if I do have goosebumps, I feel comfortable. And then comfortable enough that even if it is 30 to 50, and this is in the sun, in the shade, it's a whole different story, especially if it's windy. But then I'll meditate after that. And even though it was really cold at the beginning, after just those 10 minutes of light exercises, doing that meditation afterwards is kind of, I don't want to say mind over matter. It's not like I'm some guru heating up my internal temperature. It's more like when you go out for a run or when you go out and do something physical, you do get warmed up and your body, your physiology changes. And it goes really well after that, even with fewer layers on, right? So it's like at the beginning of your bike ride or at the beginning of your hike or your run, you've got all these layers and then just you're cold still. But then after 10, 15 minutes, you just want to rip all those layers off, don't you? So that's a great thing to honor. And I think anytime you can kind of get away with less and be healthy about it and smart about it, the more your body is going to adapt and be cool with fewer or be fine with fewer clothes. Like Wim Hof, he's one who we've been in touch with. Hopefully we'll have him on the podcast soon. But, didn't he hike Everest barefoot just in shorts or something like that? And like 10 people have died or 11 people have died on Everest this week. It's crazy stuff. But when you work with a body and kind of step by step adapt it to these crazy situations, or maybe even not so crazy, just kind of more elemental, then your body adapts. And isn't it nuts to think that this dog that's right here or your cat, whether it's -40 in Minnesota or New Hampshire or whatever, or down in Florida, it's 110 degrees, your cat's going to be fine. It's just like it changes its own natural coat. And I think if we're honest with ourselves, humans have a bit more power in that regard than we realize. So as it relates to the sauna cold therapy thing, I do believe that cold therapy, red light therapy, all these things are absolutely worth trying. And they're things that I definitely work into my own habits as well. Okay, I only have a couple minutes more here. Okay, so I'll do two more. Pam says, "Hi Abel, I'm a fellow Austinite and I found you in an unusual way. I had never heard of you or the wild diet until a week ago when I was led to you by a spiritual teacher. I have been researching several lifestyle options to help me heal this body and reverse type 2 diabetes. I've been torn between the whole food, plant-based, no oil route or the keto route. Could they be any different from each other? During my chat with my friend teacher, your name and diet was suggested as a good option. I looked you up, felt 100% drawn to you, and bought the wild diet and the online meal plans. I am just getting started and I know I have big challenges. I am a 58-year-old female, about 50 pounds overweight with hypertension, hypothyroidism, and sleep apnea. I know all these conditions are reversible. I see them as evidence that I took some wrong turns on the yellow brick road, got lost in the forest, and now the flying monkeys have shown up." I like that way of describing it. "I am so ready to go back to Kansas, so to speak, where I am healthy and able to be more active. I just want my life back. My biggest concern right now is how to effectively begin the workouts. I've been sedentary for about 10 years, and I don't want to do anything stupid that would result in injury. Do you have any recommendations or suggestions for over 50 females in terms of the workouts? I really want to do this. I know it is time. Thank you for getting well and sharing all that you have learned. Kind regards, Pam." Pam, thank you so much. Just notes like this, so you guys know, really lighten my heart and make all this seem worth doing. Especially when it gets rough out there. And it gets rough for everyone, including me. So really appreciate your comments, your kind words, and also the fact that you've kind of accepted that perhaps you took some wrong turns, because you have to accept that before you can make some serious changes. So thank you for the flying monkeys, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But as it relates to the workouts, If you've been sedentary for 10 years, it's really smart not to want to do anything stupid. So the first thing I would recommend is, if you can, find someone in your local area who can physically show you how to do some of these exercises. And, any trainer worth their salt is going to tell you to do the right functional types of exercises. If they're trying to get you on expensive machines all the time, then maybe it's time for a different trainer. But just, simplifying things, because that's really what it's all about. You want to focus on strength from your core, strength from your hips and your legs and your back. And the ways that you do that are by doing primal movements, where just kind of, I don't know if you're listening to this, obviously you won't see, but just doing a squat, going up and down, a nice deep squat. And, if it's the beginning and you haven't really been active in 10 plus years, it's going to be hard to go through the full range of motion, but that's really what you want to aim for eventually. You don't need to use any resistance at the beginning, just body weight type stuff is probably going to be fine. And eventually down the road, adding some strength training can be extremely important for women, maybe even more important for women than men, especially after the age of 40 and 50, once the hormonal environment starts changing, because you need to maintain your bones if you want to be healthy as you age. And maintaining your muscle mass, or even creating more muscle as you age, is going to be one of the biggest hedges against the downsides of aging. You're going to feel young, or even younger, even though you are technically older, because your body's state is one of regeneration constantly when you're building strength. So anyway, start simple. Focus on squats, push, pull, and it depends on how far you want to go with it. It doesn't have to be a physical fitness thing where you're like one of those flying monkeys on a jungle gym doing all that crazy CrossFit stuff or powerlifts. It doesn't have to be like that. Literally, just for a few minutes a day, if you can do air squats, or a squat with your back against the wall, or chair squat, some sort of variation. There are so many different things to do that I can't even get into them right now, because as long as you get started, you go slowly, you find someone who can help teach you to do it right and not get injured. I cannot overemphasize that enough. Then go for it. But that's actually one of the reasons that I don't put out a lot of exercise videos and stuff, because like YouTube and online learning is great, but like sometimes you need someone there to make sure you don't blow out your knee or do something super serious. It's important to have the right form. If you have past injuries and surgeries, like almost everybody does, it's important to mind those. In particular, everyone's in their own body, and so moving it correctly and without injuries is so important. So thank you, Pam. I have just a minute more here, so I want to make sure I get to this one. But Pam, thank you so much for the question, and you've got this. You've got this. And the hypertension, hypothyroidism, and sleep apnea are all things that I was struggling with about 10 years ago now. So yes, you can make changes, you can improve your condition, and I'm really glad that you got in touch. All right, Brian says, "Hi Abel, I'm struggling with habitual alcohol use. It's not a huge problem, but I'm definitely operating at a 6 instead of a 10. Looking for insight and motivation to get out of this rut once and for all." Brian, I hear you. And I was there for many years of my life as well. Thankfully, though, I grew up with an older brother that was a negative example from like a drug and alcohol use perspective. So I was totally straight edge until college, and abstained from all drugs and alcohol. So that's kind of my normal operating system, I guess you could say. So it's kind of easy to go back to that, easier than it is maybe for some other folks. Like Alyson as well, raised Mormon from a Mormon family, didn't drink alcohol until she was in her 20s. So for us, when we're just like, hey, you want to give up alcohol for a while? It's pretty easy. In fact, we joke about it now. I say not drinking alcohol is addictive, because the things that happen in your life, once you get used to feeling that good and having that 8 or 9 out of 10, I'm not going to say that once you stop drinking alcohol, you go to 10 out of 10 all the time. That's not how it works. But I can say that if you're at a 6 right now and you're drinking, then it's a pretty easy win. Try to kick that out. You're going to save money. And some of the ways to do that are just like, don't buy it when or where you normally would. It's in this culture kind of something that you just do, right? You have beer and you have wine and you have alcohol to honor your guests who come over, as a courtesy. But keep in mind, it's your house, and you don't have to keep alcohol around just because. Like, literally, you can do whatever you want with your life. And so if you're serious about kicking out something like booze, which is a horrible, addictive substance at its worst, then, giving away your booze or bringing it all to a party and just leaving it there with your friends as a gift to them and whatever, that can help. What else? Whenever my sleep is suffering, I just try to be honest with myself. And it's like, if I've been drinking, all right, it's got to go. I feel better. Not right away, but after about 1 or 2 weeks. And so I do the not drinking thing for months. Almost every year. I've probably done that since I started drinking. Because after a while of drinking, you just kind of know that it feels terrible. And it's worth making some changes. So looking for insight and motivation to get out of this rut. That's kind of what alcohol is too, a lot of the time, is a rut, right? Where it's like, if you're in the habit of drinking by like 3 or 5 p.m., it's like, all right, time for some booze. I'm feeling a little haggard. But that's what I'm saying. Like, after those 2 weeks or so, if you avoid the booze, you don't get that same thing. It's not time for a glass of wine anymore. You don't feel like having that glass of wine is in fact helping you unwind. Because it's not. And it's just, your brain starts looking at it differently. I don't know how best to explain this, but your brain starts to realize that it's not a great thing for you after you've been away from it for a few weeks. So I would say, try just, if it's not a big deal and you're just kind of like habitually drinking booze, what if you just drink, and it sounds kind of lame, but like drink some tea, or like drink a seltzer, or find like another fun drink for you to have to kind of like swap out at night, which is usually when people are drinking, instead of that booze. And look forward to waking up earlier with more energy. And when you do, I accidentally wrote a poetry book and started up jazz piano lessons again, and started up jazz guitar lessons again, and and now I'm practicing for 2 hours every morning, having already written the book and done all this other stuff. And I didn't even really try to do this. It's just like I had more space and energy in my life. And so when you do, that's addictive. I don't want to trade drinking a few glasses of wine that might turn into a bottle of wine at night and sacrifice the 2 hours of practice and learning that happens, and then all the other stuff that I do with my day after that. And so not drinking becomes addictive. So Brian, that's probably a good note to end on, because I got to go to this next interview. But if you're at a 6 out of 10, try just kicking that booze out cold turkey. It's easier than you think. Listen to that. Re-listen to, in fact, if you want to, the James Swanwick interview that we just put out about getting rid of casual drinking. And I think it's such an easy win for a lot of people. Also, keep in mind, we've been brainwashed to think that champagne, wine, beer means celebration. Alcohol is a depressant, and any link with celebration is brainwashing for marketing. So that's something that I really, and as a musician who is paid in booze and food and all this other stuff for a long time, and oftentimes had to bring the party, or that was part of the gig, that can be a tough pill to swallow. But once you start to realize you can celebrate in so many ways that have nothing to do with alcohol, your life, can just get a lot better. So give that a shot, Brian. Let me know how it goes. And anyone else who's interested in that, just write to Abel at fatburningman.com, or keep in touch with us, because, we're doing our best to try to build a community here of people who can make positive changes in their lives. And I've thought about maybe doing a challenge, like a no booze challenge with some of you guys. So if there are enough of you out there who are interested in that, and you would like to join in, then definitely drop a line, get in touch, and we'll do it, because we don't just do this for kicks. We do this because we're trying to help as many people as we can. And this world is messed up. It messed me up. It messed my wife up. It messed up most of our family. And we're all just trying to help each other through. So I got to go, but I really appreciate all of you folks tuning in. If you'd like to support us, please check out the shop at fatburningman.com with all of our educational programs. I've got a new book coming out called Designer Babies Still Get Scabies. It's satire and poetry. Stay tuned for that. And then let's see what else. Wild Superfoods is our own family company. My wife Alyson, me, Bailey the dog. My mom's a holistic nurse practitioner and herbalist who's going to be coming out here. Hopefully we can film some videos about not only the health supplements that we have right now, but some new, really tasty and cool stuff that will be coming out in the next few months. But anyway, I think we're still running a sale right now. Go to wildsuperfoods.com if you're in the US and get your nutritional goodies there. And every one of your purchases helps support us, keeps us free of the corporate machine, or as free as we can be, and free of corporate overlords. So once again, I really appreciate all of your support. And once again, you don't have to buy anything, but if you just want to support us, please share one of my podcasts or shows or books or fatburningman.com or whatever. Really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, all that other stuff. You guys are the best. I'll be talking to you soon. Thanks again once more. This is Abel James signing off.
Well, hey there. Thanks for sticking around till the end of this episode. This is Abel once again. And as promised, I'm here with a reading from this brand new book called Designer Babies Still Get Scabies. And doing this one all ourselves, independently published. Alyson helped put it together in massive, massive ways. Thank you so much, Alyson, for everything you do. But anyway, here are a few of the poems coming right up. But if you'd like to get your copy as well as details on how to get your free audio book, then go to designerbabiesbook.com. All one word, no dashes or any nonsense like that. Just go to designerbabiesbook.com and you'll get all the details on the giveaways and other good stuff like that. You can also go to fatburningman.com. Make sure you're signed up for the newsletter, and you can get some of the goodies that way. All right, here goes. I hope you enjoy. And like I said, these are just a couple of the quick ones here. Some are quite innocent, others less so. So sorry in advance if I kick the hornet's nest. These ones won't do it, but maybe the ones in the coming weeks. We'll see. This is called What Do Words Even Mean Anymore? What do words even mean anymore? These days, we simply buy words at the store. Except scammers pay Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So wherever you are, you'll surely be spammed. As will your friends, so will your fam. Mass manipulation is just part of the sham. Not on them, you see, but on me and you. We think it's a forest, but we live in a zoo. Tech titans wheel and deal our names like it's some competitive little game. Marketers make us all the same until there's no one left to blame. When you search for truth these days, swindlers spin it in billions of ways. Finding the truth shouldn't be like a maze. Good thing our heart always shows us the way. Okay, this next one is about Mother Nature. Mother Nature says, Mother Nature, she ain't no joke. She'll eat your stuff, leave you broke. Wildfires turn our schools to smoke. Earthquakes quickly get you woke. All these volcanoes make us choke. Storms squash cities in a single stroke. But listen, this ain't no time to mope. You and I still got our folks. There's much more to do before we croak. Just remember, Mother Nature ain't no joke. When she says move, we say hokey doke. And one little quick one to leave you with, called Home Cooking. America might be a bit better looking if we spent more time on real home cooking. Okay, one more just because it's, let's see, I can find a quick one. Yeah. Let's do the UPS guy, who will probably be delivering your new copy of Designer Babies, hopefully soon. Thanks for your support once again. All right, one last bonus one. The UPS guy. The UPS guy don't ask why. He just hands off boxes and says goodbye. And on that note, goodbye, folks. We'll see you next time. DesignerBabiesBook.com. Thanks again. This episode is brought to you by listeners like you and Future Greens. Let me ask you something. Did you eat your veggies today? All of them? Believe it or not, fewer than 10% of adults and children in America get their recommended fruits and veggies in daily. That is absolutely atrocious, and many millions of us are suffering from disease, obesity, and ill health as a direct result. So my wife Alyson and I decided to do something about it. Now you can double your intake of fruits and veggies in less than 60 seconds without the sugar or carbs. We're excited to bring you our new superfood greens powder called Future Greens to make it easy to get organic, nutrient-dense veggies in every day, no matter where you are. Future Greens is packed with vitamins, minerals, and filling prebiotic fiber from whole organic veggies, sprouts, algae, and berries, including kale, beet, parsley, collard greens, cauliflower sprouts, broccoli sprouts, spirulina, chlorella, blueberries, raspberries, and much more. Since Future Greens is preserved, you can get your greens on even when fresh produce, salads, and smoothies are far out of reach. Future Greens makes getting nutrition easy, and it tastes great if I do say so myself. Future Greens is a smart and convenient source of nutrition for disaster preparedness, road trips, camping, athletics, and more. It travels great in the car, on the plane, or in a spaceship. Just make sure you activate artificial gravity before opening. Basically, it's like vegetables from the future. So if you're looking to increase your energy and health without the crash from caffeine or sugar, meet your new best friend, Future Greens. As a listener of Fat Burning Man, you can get a 20% discount to try it yourself right now. Just visit fatburningman.com/greens to get over 20% off when you subscribe and save. You'll get our coolest new concoction from Wild Superfoods called Future Greens. Again, just head on over to fatburningman.com/greens to get over 20% off your purchase. We'll see you there. Well, hey there, listener. This is Abel one more time, and I just want to say thank you for listening to this episode of the Fat Burning Man Show. If you liked it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button wherever you might be listening to or watching this show right now. And if you have a second, please leave me a quick review for the Fat Burning Man Show. I read every single one of them, and every time you leave a review, it gives us a little boost in the rankings, and that helps other people find this show. And if you can think of someone else who might enjoy and benefit from this free show, please take a second to share it with a friend or a family member. And if they're like, what is this Fat Burning Man thing? That's a really silly name. You could be like, you're right, but here's the deal. We've recorded over 250 episodes of the Fat Burning Man Show with thought leaders in health from all over the world. And so far, we've won 4 awards, hitting #1 in health in more than 8 countries internationally. We have more than 30 million downloads already, but we're just getting started. I can't believe any of this, by the way, and couldn't do any of this without you, so thanks once again. But here's some more good news. You can download and listen to every single episode of the Fat Burning Man Show for free with 0 outside advertisements, no outside sponsors, and no corporate overlords. All you have to do is type in fatburningman.com. I'll give you a second here just to type it in, fatburningman.com. And you'll get all the show notes, transcripts, and video and audio versions for all the past episodes of the Fat Burning Man Show for free. Better yet, enter your email at fatburningman.com, sign up for my newsletter, and I'll even send you a quick start guide so you can take your health into your own hands right now, along with a few of our ridiculously tasty recipes as a special thanks for signing up. Once again, just go to fatburningman.com right now, enter your best email to get your free goodies with a bonus surprise straight to your inbox. This is Abel James signing off. Thank you so much for listening once again, and have a great week.